When you close your eyes and picture your dream team, you see a group that crushes goals like clockwork, a crew that anticipates your next move before you even say it, maybe a culture where accountability isn't forced, it's just automatic. Sounds incredible, right? Here's the hard truth. Most leaders don't have that team, and if you don't feel left out, it's hard to do. Many leaders have great talent, and they have members on their team with great talent. They also get drama. They get effort, but they're missing direction, or they've got individuals working really hard, but just not together. They're rowing in different directions. They may have the right individuals, but they're in the wrong seat. And it's not because you've hired the wrong people. No. Could be, but probably not. It's because you haven't built the right balance of leaders on your team. A high-performing management team isn't born, it's engineered. And today we're going to talk about that. Just like a championship coach builds a roster, you've got to know the players, their strengths, their blind spots, your blind spots, and how they perform under pressure. So let's break down exactly what it takes to create that management team that you dream of. Let's get going. Now, let me get started. You've probably heard many times some of this leadership, I'll call it fluff. It's true, but it's fluff. You have to build trust. You have to create psychological safety. There's no I in team. And yeah, that stuff matters. But it's only part of the picture, maybe as much as half the picture, but it's not all the picture. Because the real magic of a great team isn't found in blending everyone into one happy, uniform blob of agreement. It's found in contrast. Yeah, contrast. The best teams aren't built on sameness. They're built on diversity of roles and personalities that challenge and balance each other. Every high-performing management team I've ever seen has 5 types of leaders. I captured this, and I want to share this with you because I think it will make a lot of sense to a lot of people who are trying to build that dream team. So welcome back to the Business Mechanics Show. I'm your host, Vaughn Sigmund, co-founder of Results Driven Leadership, where we help managers become true leaders who drive results through people. And today, I've got a powerhouse episode for you. We're talking about something every leader wants, but few actually have. Now, I'm not talking about a team that just does a job. I'm talking about a team that's locked in, accountable, unstoppable, a team that can take your business to the levels you've only imagined. So buckle up with me. I want to break it down for you, piece by piece, using real-world leadership psychology that I've used for decades and know it works. And one of my favorite tools that is absolutely mandatory, and that's the DISC assessment. It'll help you decode who's on your roster and maybe what you've been missing. And by the way, stick with me to the end because I have a brand new freebie that works well with this. It'll help you assess your own leadership skills. And maybe if you want to share it with your team, their leadership skills too. It's called the 7 Traits Scorecard, your personal scoreboard for leadership mastery. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, let's be honest. These dream teams aren't the reality. For most managers I coach, they've got good people, but not a very good team. And the truth is, the perfect team really doesn't just happen. You have to build it. And I'm going to share with you today how to build that team. The real leadership isn't about everyone singing Kumbaya. It's about engineering balance. Because the best teams aren't made of clones, they're made of complements. They also must clearly understand their specific role on the team. And that's up to the leader, that's up to you to make these assignments, to identify it and assign their part of creating in their role, their part of an amazing team. Often their part goes unsaid and just assumed. Don't ever assume. But what are the roles? What are these types of people? How do I spot them? Every truly elite management team has these 5 essential types of leaders. So let's break down these 5 leaders you need. Number 1, the director. That's the decision maker. That on the DISC assessment is the high D. That's that big, tall, red bar above 60. Your director is your alpha. That may be you. It's the person who's decisive, confident, laser focused on results. They love to lead, to push, to take control of situations. This is your high D personality, dominance. They move fast. They want results yesterday. They thrive under pressure. Now, some of you are saying, well, yeah, that's me. Or you're identifying the person on your team that's like that. Every great team needs at least one strong director, high D. Without them, nothing moves. Decisions just don't take place. That risks aren't taken. Meetings go in circle. Projects stall. Accountability dies. But there's a downside. Here's the danger. You have too many Ds or directors, you've got a conference room cage match. You've got power struggles. You've got ego battles. Yep. Everyone talking, but nobody listening. Understanding that as a high D yourself or this high D on your team, one of the biggest challenges is viewing the rest of the world outside of their own approach to things, outside of their lens. They see everything from this high level of work ethic and initiative, and you don't stop until you drop. That's only 3% of the population. So if you're a high D yourself, or you recognize that you have a high D on your team, understand that's one of the biggest drawbacks is how they view the world. And 100% of the time when I come across this CEO, this president, this leader in an organization that's a super high D, and I tell them what that challenge is about expecting the rest of the world to operate the way they do and why they're being disappointed by that, because the rest of the world just does not. 97% of the population does not approach their work and their life the way you do. And to help recognize the other strengths of the DISC profile and understanding your speed is your gift, but it can bulldoze creativity if unchecked. Ds have to learn, and they do, because there's a huge benefit for them. They have to learn to lead with their ears as often as they can. They need to learn and lead asking questions, slowing down and truly listening, not just for the words, but for the feelings. Too many Ds lack a little, or if not a lot, of empathy. Where's that pushback coming from? Why would they be saying that? Why aren't they just immediately buying in on this? And you sometimes can see that as an affront to you. They're not cooperative. They're lazy. Your accomplishments and results will come quicker. And this is where I get buy-in every time. I'll say it again. Your accomplishments and results will come quicker with far less drama and hiccups if you recognize when you're trying to dominate a conversation, stop, pause, pattern, interrupt, and turn to listening versus directing. You want your director energy focused on clarity, not control. True control and results comes from group buy-in, not your will and your drive and your commands. It's just not going to work that way. And I'm telling you, every high D that I've worked with has been fantastic because their motivation is to get the results they want. And they've been frustrated because they haven't been able to get it. This one trick, slow down, listen, ask questions, bring everybody into the pool of collective knowledge. It works so well that they immediately make this change. So keep that in mind. Lean into listening. Number 2, the achiever. This is your workhorse. This is your high C/S blend on the DISC profile. This person who gets it done with no drama, no excuses, no showboating. They don't need a spotlight. They don't need a lot of strokes. They need a checklist. Just tell me what to do, how you want it done, when you want it done, and I'll go get it done for you. But they need all those things. And DISC achievers often are in that CS blend, conscientious and steady. They're reliable, consistent, process-driven. See, many Ds don't require process. They just make it happen. But CSs, which are the bulk of the population, they need a process. They need SOPs. They need a roadmap to getting there. And you have to slow down and allow them the time to figure it out. Help them figure it out. You can hand them a project when you have them with the proper structure and expectations. They'll come back buttoned up, polished, absolutely on time. But if you fill your team with nothing but achievers, which they sound really good, don't they? But you have nothing but achievers, you'll hit every goal, yeah, which is awesome, but you'll get stuck. You won't be able to scale. You won't be able to grow. You won't be able to change. Why? Because they're a little resistant to change. They're risk intolerant. You get great execution, but weak innovation, weak alignment, weak inspiration was their execution. They're not necessarily all those things. So achievers thrive, and this is your coaching tip. If you've recognized your achievers, your conscientious, steady, greens and blues on the DISC, they thrive with clear goals. So as the director, if you're that role, as the leader of this team, you have to provide them with very clear goals, smart goals. And then certainly they want recognition. They don't have to have it. They appreciate it. But most importantly, they need structure. And if you happen to be a high I on the DISC, this is your shortfall. You don't have a lot of structure. So you want to take these CSs and pair them with a Trailblazer who pushes them beyond their comfort zone. And we're going to talk about the Trailblazer in a minute. I haven't mentioned them yet. But the achiever, let's know what is specifically required and to help them open their thoughts and set aside their stubbornness. Every one of them that I've talked to, I will say during the DISC discussion, I bet you've been called stubborn, and 100% of the time they'll get a little grin, but they'll always agree with me. They can be a little stubborn. They're probably a lot stubborn. And you're fighting that. But the more you discuss it, the more you open it up and transparent about it, the more accepting they are. And you can turn that acceptance into results. So number 3, the stabilizer. That's the process keeper. That is the person who's a really tall, above a 60 or 70 on the DISC scale, the blue bar. That's the process keeper, high C. That's the stabilizer. Every team needs someone who loves. I always had to find that person and have them on my team. That's the person that is contradictory of me. They will disagree with me politely. They won't just follow along and say yes to everything. They love structure. And I needed to surround myself with folks who had this high C, the stabilizer, because they make sure the trains run on time. These high C's, the conscientiousness, the detail focus, the rule following, the risk intolerance, they're systems people, they're policy guardians. They're your quality control experts. But you stack your team with too many stabilizers and you'll drown in red tape. Paralysis by analysis. It takes a long time for these high C's to make decisions. And sometimes meetings can become debates about policy instead of no, we can't, instead of progress. Risk-taking dies, innovation flatlines, but that's why you have to have a blend. You have to have somebody that counters that. And again, you have to be transparent. I know who you are. Here's your DISC profile. Let's you and I talk about it. Here's where you contribute to the team, and here's where you need to let go a little bit to allow the team to thrive. So the coaching tip. Empower your stabilizers to speak up when processes become obstacles. And balance them with a trailblazer, again, I'll speak about in a minute, who shakes up their perfection paralysis, because great teams don't just follow systems, they improve them. Continuous improvement. but you all need that structure. And you need that person that's likely counter to you. Number 4, the harmonizer. That's your relationship builder, your high S or the green bar on the disc profile. They can be the heart of your team because they have a lot of heart. These high S personalities are full of empathy. They're steady. They're loyal. They're supportive. They're about everybody else, not themselves. They're low ego individuals. They're peacemakers. They're connectors. They can often be your morale boosters. They make communication smoother. They reduce friction. They think about the psychology and the safety that others need because they need it. They're not risk takers. They don't just figure things out. They need these other leadership types to help guide them along. They'll smooth the waters for you. But if you only have harmonizers, you'll end up with what I call terminal niceness. Everybody's happy, but nobody's honest. High S's don't share what's on their mind. If they disagree, they won't necessarily tell you. They'll hold that in. That's their passive aggression. So if I know that likely they're going to have a disagreement and I will not know about that disagreement, or they're not bought in, but I won't know because they're not the people to say, hold on, Sal, we're not going to do that. They'll just nod their head. Okay, terminal niceness. But you want that honesty out of them. They won't volunteer it. You have to pull it out. So let me share some ideas around that. This is your coaching tip. Encourage your harmonizers to challenge ideas without fear of upsetting people, because that's what holds them back, is upsetting or hurting the relationships they have with others. Conflict handled well is growth, and they have to embrace it, but they're very conflict avoidant. And when harmonizers learn to blend empathy, their strength, with accountability, not their strength, they become cultural glue. So you put a harmonizer with that high C, who's all about accountability, winning combo. But be aware of their conflict avoidance, as I mentioned earlier, which is often identified through passive-aggressive follow-through. Everybody will agree to something, and you'll go out to this harmonizer 2 weeks later and say, hey, why isn't this done? I wasn't sure, and I didn't quite understand. And the question, the response that often is, why didn't you ask? You just said the silliest thing possible. Had you known better? Because they don't ask questions. You have to draw those resistance, that lack of information, that lack of knowledge that they need out of them. And how do I do that? I don't pin them down and say, talk to me. Use a really easy technique called open-ended questions. You have to call them and ask them an open-ended question to draw out what they're really thinking. For example, your thoughts on this, Marvin? Sal, what's been your experience doing this? Erica, what do you think's going to go wrong? Tony, how would you improve this? Sally, what have we not covered here? What have we not thought of we need to be considering? Open-ended questions. Who, what, when, where, how. Draw it out. Because they're unlikely to volunteer, especially when you have a high T, aggressive individual leading and dominating the discussion. They will turtle. They'll back into their little shells. They'll wait for this conflict to pass because aggression is seen as conflict. So we have to be nice. We have to be open. We have to be engaging. We have to draw them into the conversation. Now, number 5, this Trailblazer I've mentioned previously. That's your high I. I can relate to this person. I'm a DI, high D, high I, no S, no C on the disc profile. And I like single digits S and C. So finally, the Trailblazer. This is your visionary. This is your creative. This is your disruptor. The one that asks, why not? When everyone else says, that's not how we do things. They're inspirational. They're creative. They can be very persuasive. They can rally a crowd, sell a vision, and inject energy and optimism into a dead room. Without trailblazers, your team becomes stagnant. With too many, it's chaos again. It's all vision and no follow-through. Because that's what the trailblazers lack, is structure, accountability, and follow-through. They're all ideas and change all the time. They need grounding. So they have to be paired with, as I often did for myself and for other teams, with a stabilizer or achiever, preferably both, who keeps their feet on the ground while their head's in the clouds. Avoid giving them anything that's administrative. They're not good at that. They don't like repetitive, detailed tasks. Anything that needs a lot of follow-through or structure. And don't expect them to be great at that. They're not natural. That's not their strength. So don't ask that of them. Their follow-through is going to be weak, and often they'll fall into this sudden new idea and creating updates and changes very quickly without working through the rest of the team members or not thinking about the ramifications of this change. That's their optimism. That's their need for change, variety. They get bored very quickly with the same old. And you have to stop them from the idea of the week club, which I want their ideas. Absolutely do. I don't want to quell their creativity but we just have to dose it in time. Time we'll get to that. Let's write it down, come back to it. That's how you turn their wild ideas into tangible results. You have to throttle them. So I've covered the 5. The director, the stabilizer, the trailblazer, the harmonizer, the achievers. You may be thinking, okay, Vaughn, how many of each of these do I need? I don't like to answer a question with a question, but I want to say that depends. How many do you have on your team? What is the makeup of your team? Can you combine some of these with one person? In my opinion, you need 4 to 5 people on a team that have some blend, if not their strength in this, their exact strength in this. But if you have the normal sized team, you need 1 director, never 2. And if you have 2, you're going to have to agree to disagree and give grace to each other. You need 1 stabilizer. You need 1 trailblazer, preferably a couple harmonizers, or if you only have 1 harmonizer, that needs to be somebody that is willing to be stronger. And you need 3 achievers. 1 will get you through. Again, they have to be pretty strong. 3's prep. That's a balanced lineup. There's very often I get hired by corporations to come in and design a team, developing a new business or a new division, and they want me to use my DISC knowledge and tools to design who to hire for those roles without ever looking at the first resume. DISC is going to play, and they're going to find the right person. They're going to make sure their DISC fits into the slots that they need, the director, the stabilizer, the trailblazer, the harmonizer, the achiever. Because many decision makers, being a high D or director, will want to surround themselves with people just like them, and it does not work very well. You have a lot of infighting, and you don't want that. But 1 director, 1 stabilizer, 1 trailblazer, a couple harmonizer, a couple achievers, if not 3, that's your balanced lineup. But remember, it's not about how many people you have. It's how well these roles and voices, their strength, their influence are represented. You need that diversity of thought, the diversity of behavior and energy. That's what turns a good team into a dream team. So if you're not currently using DISC, reach out to me. Vaughn@rdltraining.com. I'll provide you the link. I'll send you the link to the management DISC assessment. It takes all of 10 minutes to complete. And you'll get back a 37-page report that describes that individual, even yourself, in a high level of detail. You'll figure out who's on your team and who's not on your team. Let me give you a real-world example. I once coached a management team at a manufacturing company. They had 8 managers. 6 of them were high C stabilizers. Brilliant people. Process obsessed. And in the manufacturing environment, that's pretty good. It's important. but they were drowning in spreadsheets. They had paralysis by analysis. Every meeting turned into a debate over metrics instead of decisions. Deadlines slipped because they were too busy perfecting the plan. They very often get frozen in perfection and slow decision-making. And so when we added one strong director and one trailblazer, everything shifted. Suddenly decisions got made. Innovation came alive. Morale, man, it skyrocketed. All because we brought this balance into the system. That's the power of understanding who's sitting at your table. And it will be your dream team if you engineer it properly. So, I'm going to give you one brief final lesson on DISC, how to spot your team types. Reach out if you want exactly what a DISC is going to do for you. And I'll send you the link. Heidi, that's your director. Fast talker, firm stance, loves challenges, gets frustrated by indecision, high sense of urgency. Hi, I, your trailblazer. Charismatic, energetic, loves brainstorming, can lose focus and structure. High S, that's your harmonizer. They're calm, they're loyal, they don't like conflict, but they're a great listener. They want to know about you. High C, stabilizer. Analytical, precise, cautious, risk avoidant, but they are very accurate and on time. They follow the rules. And if you get an achiever blend, driven, consistent, steady, blends focus with follow through, you're making it happen. So here's some observable traits. Watch for this. Who on your team jumps in first with opinions? You've got that person, likely. That's your director. Who smooths things over when tension rise? That's your harmonizer. Who's poking holes and disagreeing with ideas or challenge you to make things better all the time? That's your stabilizer. Who's tossing out wild new concepts, the latest, greatest idea? That's your trailblazer. Who's quietly checking boxes behind the scene? That's your achiever. That's generally the quietest person in your meeting. Once you've observed this, once you've mapped it out, you understand what you have or you don't have, and you see what you're missing, that's where your work begins. So the balance check. Let's just give you the check for balance. Here's a simple way to self-audit your leadership team. Grab a whiteboard, list those 5 roles: director, achiever, stabilizer, harmonizer, trailblazer. By the way, this is a blog on my website if you want to have a written version of this. Director, achiever, stabilizer, harmonizer, trailblazer. And write your team members under each. Assign your team what that is, what they are, not what you want them to be. And you'll immediately see your strengths and where your gaps are. Simple. Then ask yourself, do we make decisions fast enough? If not, you're light on the director side. Do we innovate consistently? Continuous improvement. If not, you're missing your trailblazer. Or are systems breaking down often? Do we fail to get things done? You need your stabilizer. Is morale low? Engagement low? You're short on harmonizers. Are you executing efficiently? If not, you need more achievers. That's how you fine-tune your team. Not through meetings, not through a lot of directives, sometimes threats I hear, but through alignment. So your next move, the 7 Traits Scorecard. So describe the DISC. You pair that with the 7 Traits Scorecard to maximize each leader's potential. You want to identify their soft spots. So after you've done this exercise, download. The tool is in the notes section, the show notes. Download it there. Start with yourself and do the self-assessments on the 7 traits of leadership. You can't fix what you can't see. And every leader, including me, has blind spots. And that's why I created my brand new tool, the 7 Traits Scorecard, your personal scorecard. It's a self-assessment that helps you, or whoever's taking it, pinpoint exactly where you're strong, where you're struggling and what's holding you back. It's built around the 7 key traits of effective leaders, because leadership isn't just about results. It's about how you lead people to get those results. And here's the deal. The first 50 people who download the assessment and then want to go work on their shortcomings, their opportunities, I'll offer you my online training modules for half price. Just use coupon code TheBusinessMechanic, no spaces, one word, at checkout. Go to rdltraining.com and sign up. So don't wait. Go grab your scorecard. Find out where your gaps are and start building the leadership habits that'll make your team unstoppable. And again, rdltraining.com, get it. But before we wrap it up, one more reminder. You don't get the team you wish for. You get the team you build. Leadership isn't about luck. It's about clarity, accountability, and the courage to build balance. So take what we've covered today, identify your 5 leader types, use the DISC code, and start crafting the management dream team your business deserves. A little bit complex, but man, nothing good comes easily. And if you found this valuable today, do me a favor, subscribe, share this podcast. It helps me get out to other people. I do this. I don't make any money on this. I do this out of love. I do this out of giving back and sharing. I get my payment out of the people who reach out to me and talk to me and share with me how I've helped. It's all I need, but I'd like to have more people be exposed to it. So please share, subscribe, and check out my YouTube channel too. There's hundreds of videos there. They're just waiting for you to consume them on leadership, management, communication. So in the end, this is Vaughn Sigma reminding you don't get what you preach, you get what you tolerate. And now go out there and build this dream team that changes everything.